What's going on, everybody? I am Alex with True 90's Nickelodeon, and welcome to today's NickSclusive in my new home. This is not going to be my permanent back setup. It's just, there is a mess everywhere I go. So, first NickSclusive in the new location, so super excited. Today we're going to be joined by John Crane, Any Dad from Roundhouse. We have been conversing for a couple of months now, and his schedule has been very, very busy, so I'm very, very grateful that he's going to be able to join us today. So I can't wait to get this thing going. He and I, like I've done with many others, he's asked me beforehand how to get this thing going. So if we have any issues trying to get him started, then I will, like I've done before, stop this one, go get him and join and make sure that we're square. But we should be able to get him in pretty easily. It's just, again, he's never done an Instagram Live before. Like a lot of I'm really surprised at how many of the celebrities I've conversed with have not done an Instagram Live. So I'm going to give him a little while and see if he joins us. If he doesn't, I will send him an invite. How are you guys? You guys doing good? How you doing, Kat? But we'll see how things go. As we sit in awkward silence. You guys doing all right? I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? Says Kat. I'm tired. Very tired. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I've not seen him join in yet. Hello! I've not seen him join in yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him an invite to join us. Where are you? Send. Boom. And wait and see if he... Hey, there's Crane. As soon as I sent an invite, he joined us. The crew says hi. Great. How you doing, Space Crew? I love this guy from Roundhouse. He's pretty awesome. All of the other people that I've interviewed so far from Roundhouse, whenever I've mentioned that I had been talking with John, they had nothing but high praise to say about him. Except for David Sidoni. He's the only one. How do I join? Here, let me do this. I don't think I ever told you this. And I should have... fault on my part, but if you're trying to do this via webcam, it's not going to work. It has to be a tablet or an iPhone or a phone. So if you don't have either of those, we'll have to try something else. But if you're using a webcam, it's not going to work. And again, that's my fault. I should have reiterated that sooner. Things have been crazy, but let me try this. Let's do this, and I am going to, it says you're unable to join, so probably because I'm assuming you're using a webcam. So if you have a phone, tune in using your phone, or if you have a tablet, do that. If we need to wait a minute, we can wait. Okay, I do, but you have to give me a second. No problem. We can give you a second, give you all the time you need. So while we're sitting here and chilling out, how are you guys? I know I've asked that like 3 or 4 times, but you guys are always really, what's going on in your world? You guys know what's been going on in my world. I mean, you've see this? It's the Red Room. And I don't mean, whatever that stupid movie is. I don't mean 50 Shades. I mean Twin Peaks, which is even creepier. So excited, says Gilito Fandango. You should interview Natalie. I would love to interview Natalie. There are still several cast members from the show that I have not reached out to yet, but I know that whenever I have tagged them in various Roundhouse posts that they had liked and sometimes commented, so I very much am going to be reaching out to Natalie sometime soon. Tired from work, been up since 4 a.m. I needed this. Holy cow. I feel you on the tired. I really feel you on the tired, but I'm glad you're here. Stall, I'm coming, dance, do something. I can stall, but I'm not going to take you to a stall because that would be really, really gross. Dance bumper. Everybody dance a jig. You do not want to see me dance. I am way too white for that. What up, Chad? Right now I have... How's the house? A mess. The house is a giant mess. I'm actually going to be going to my old house tonight to get the last of the stuff. We have a path that goes from room to room, and now it's going to be unpacking. So tomorrow is unpacking day, and then I can finally start getting into a normal routine outside of just my normal 2 posts a day, two videos, 2 pictures. I'll actually start to get back to making whatever the crap they are. Memes. My brain is fried. I do have some really cool giveaways, so I hope you guys are going to stick around. Are you close by the old house? I am. It's like 5-10 minutes away, depending on the stoplight that is in between us. Kids don't change schools? No, they don't. Same school district. Actually, the house that we lived in, there is a school about 10 minutes away, and we were actually within that district. We literally lived on the dividing line of school districts. Across the street was the school that he actually goes to, and the other one is 10 minutes away, which was ridiculous. 20 if you count traffic. So we had to get permission from his school. Now we are in his school district, so we don't have to worry about that. It's a cranny, it's a cranny, it's a cranny on the way. Sorry, I had to sing the song for the baby episode. It's cool. For those who are joining in, totally my fault, but I did not tell John that this is not going to work via web camera. So he's getting things set up. He's getting his phone or tablet, one of the two, but he's going to be joining us. He's actually told me a couple of times, stall, dance, sing, do something. So he's rushing as quickly as he can. So I'm over here just having conversations with you guys. How many views do you get on your stories on average? I only get about 40 to 60 on a good day. It depends. It really depends on the day. I don't really have any big secrets, but it's usually in the 100 to 200 range. Close to 200 on a good day. Usually the high 90s and low hundreds. But stories are fickle. I mean, I'm one of those people, even on Facebook, I don't really like stories. I've seen them as just an extra way to, I'm posting it on my store. I'm posting it on my main page. Follow me here if you want to see my main page. The only reason I really use stories is to do something that's cool and fun and quick interactivity. Again, everybody who's joining in, John is going to be joining us. My fault. I did not tell him that a webcam won't work. So, my fault, all right here. I expect you need to get more since you had more followers. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow and trying to come up with some fun content for all of you guys. The only time that the stories really get a lot of traffic is whenever I do something like this. Whenever I do an Instagram Live and then post it on IGTV, those usually get a lot more stories. So, not more stories, interactivity. Anything Roundhouse, I'm all for. Love that show. Roundhouse is freaking great. I really, really love Roundhouse. Ironically, as a kid, I really have no memory of Roundhouse as a child. None. It wasn't until I got back into Nickelodeon, 90's Nickelodeon as an adult, when I saw the Roundhouse show, and I was, what? I have no memory of this. What is this? And I rewatched it, and I absolutely love it. And I don't know why I don't have any memories of Roundhouse as a kid. Maybe because it was not my age at the time, because I was pretty young when it came out. But the show's got a huge diehard fan base, which is great, because the show is very, very deserving of it. Did you get my question? Yes, I did. I did get your question. There's usually a ton of questions that come in, and I'm usually writing them all down. I keep notes so that way I don't lose them all, because once the story goes away, it's gone. I was in my early teens when I watched Roundhouse. That's awesome. I do not have Paramount Plus because I have no need for it. Uh, and I don't mean to say that in a negative way. I much more prefer physical media. If you've seen my previous interviews, there's been a wall of DVDs. Back in my old house, the whole basement wall was just covered in DVDs. And I prefer physical media because if something happens digitally, and we lose signal for whatever reason, DVDs don't lose signal. They just keep going. And I've got all the episodes of Roundhouse that I had burned to a DVD, and a lot of other Nickelodeon shows that you cannot find on Paramount Plus. So I've actually posted a video. It was my first Instagram Live, I think, where I went through the whole thing of all the different DVDs that I have for Nickelodeon. But John has joined us. John has bring him in here. Make sure my volume is up. It is. We should be getting Mr. Crane soon, once the connection sets up here. Well, hello there.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. This is obviously, this has been the most technologically challenged. I mean, it has been just from the scheduling to this, and I was scrambling. Of course, I was using my laptop. And the funny thing is, Alex, I was thinking, I said, it crossed my mind. And I said, you know what? I'm probably going to sound like just a total nerd if I say, hey, is it cool if I do this on my laptop? And I didn't do it. I was just like, nah, because, he's probably going to think I'm an idiot or something. And
No.
Sure enough, got on. I was all set to go. I had everything all set up. And then.
and I am so that is completely on me. I had completely
No,
forgotten.
that's on me too. Yeah.
But anyways, welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I've checked out some of the other ones that you've done. They look like a lot of fun. It's great that there are still some fans out there who remember the show and want to talk about it.
Yeah. The previous two I've done has been a lot of fun, and every single one of these has been great. I've loved doing them. So we're going to jump right in since
Okay.
we're done.
We wasted about 30 minutes me trying to get on the dang thing.
First question: What? I have no light here. What drew you to work on Roundhouse?
Well, actually, Roundhouse sort of drew me. As a matter of fact, I had a couple of things here in prep for the meeting. I was doing stand-up in New Orleans many years ago, and the producer of the show, Rita and Buddy Sheffield, is actually Rita, who was casting for a show called Cheap Theatrics, which was actually the first iteration of Roundhouse. This was a sketch show for kids with dance, music, comedy, all of that we traveled up and down the East Coast for about 2 years in a van with all the actors and actresses. We had a U-Haul behind us that had a big banner. This is actually, I don't know but this is Cheap Theatrics, and kind of there's me somewhere in that picture there, right in there, right here,
yeah.
here. This is the original cast, and we traveled doing this show at schools. We would go into cafeterias and gymatoriums and all of that and do this set show. Matter of fact, the only show, actually 2 songs that we did in that original show ended up in Roundhouse, which was a Sex Education, which was one of the first we did in season 1, and Daddy Don't Dance was also one of the songs that we did for anybody who remembers those songs early in the show. So there were those 2 that were in the original Cheap Theatrics that we ended up doing on Roundhouse. And that was a really good, one funny story I remember about that is that, it was this, sometimes we'd go into some really tough schools. And we were doing this sort of song and dance. The costumes were very colorful, even more than they were on Roundhouse. And on more than one occasion, as we're doing the show, almost like at a football game, a fight breaks out in the stands between two people. But the show was pre-recorded. The music was pre-recorded on a track.
Yeah.
So it's not like the band can stop.
Yeah.
It's once the songs start, you have to dance through them and sing through them no matter what is happening. So there were many times that we were doing the show where just chaos is taking place in the audience and we're singing Roundhouse, we're going at it. But anyway, we did that show we did Cheap Theatrics for about a year or two, traveling up and down. And then Rita and Buddy, who produced the show, always wanted to take the show to Nickelodeon or Disney. They always felt like it had a great potential to be entertaining and be a television show. So I actually came out to, my plan was always to go to Los Angeles. And once the show had its run, we all came out to LA. And Rita and Buddy packaged the show as a pilot to pitch to Nickelodeon. They pitched the pilot, which was rewritten as Roundhouse, pitched that show to Nickelodeon, and then we shot the pilot in Florida that first year. So Rita had, the way I came to be into it was not only from that show, but we came out together. I wanted to write for the show as well, which I did. And so it was just sort of a natural progression of things that, once the show got picked up for the pilot, they asked me if I would be in the pilot. And obviously, of course, I said yes. And so that's how it all started.
And one of the questions that I had was, was the first thing they hired you for was a singer, performer, or a writer? And it sounds like it was both from the get-go.
Yeah, it was kind of both from the get-go. Yeah, it was both from the get-go, right. So it was very cool, very cool.
What was your favorite part about performing on Roundhouse?
Well, what I really loved about it, and what I love about sketch too, is you really, even though, my primary role on the show was dad, it allowed you to play a bunch of different characters. There were times when we would do a commercial. We would do a commercial parody, and we got to be, I got to do impressions on the show. I got to play other characters. Sometimes when they were running short on kids for something, I played a couple of kids along the way somewhere. So that really, as an actor and as a performer, you really get to stretch and do a lot of different things. And, not to mention the singing and the dancing, which if any Roundhouse cast are watching this, they're going to go, yeah, right, John did about this much dancing. And even that is too much. But I love that aspect of it. I love the fact that, you could do singing, you could do dancing. And honestly, one of the other great things about being on that show and writing for the show is that I got to write music for the show. I wrote songs for the show as well. So I think that was really I've never really worked in another show that's like that, and that offers, those kinds of diverse opportunities.
Is this the guy from Roundhouse? Yes, this is the guy from Roundhouse.
I'm one of the guys from Roundhouse.
One of the guys. John Crane. This is your dad and mine. Do you have any behind-the-scenes secrets about the chair?
Secrets about the chair. The only, it's not really a secret. There was a ice chest on the chair that was a practical ice chest. You could, it actually had a lid and you could open it, but we would mostly keep, I have no really sort of funny story about that, other than we would just keep, the remote control or certain props in there. There were a couple of shows where I was supposed to pull something out of the chair, and it would be, that was sort of the place that would hold it. And I either forgot the prop or, forgot when to take it out. But no, there weren't, again, there weren't any really secrets about it. The guy who designed it, Beto Brown, was a master. This guy, was really behind all of the, not just the chair, not just the mechanics of the chair, but just the design of the chair and all the stuff that was attached to it. And, I was always amazed because, I got pretty good at it. I got very good at it because I could stop on a dime and wheel around and make you think I was going to run you over. But I was actually very, very good at it. But I put that chair through its paces, and that thing held up through all the seasons of Roundhouse. Quick, fast. It was basically a modified, the base of it was a modified electric wheelchair. And so, but it was a marvel of design. And he did, basically Beto too, while we're talking about that, all of what was so great about the show was the idea of found props, that the idea was that this show took place in a roundhouse where there's junk around. And so the cast used the stuff that you would find, in ostensibly a kind of junkyard as props. And, we weren't really designing those props. Beto was, and some of the stuff that he designed, including the cardboard television set when you'd walk on and then Dad would watch the TV and the actors are inside. I mean, all of the stuff he designed, he was great. So we were very fortunate to have a guy like that. And actually, when I went on to work for Mad TV later years, he ended up being set designer for, he designed a lot of the props and stuff for Mad TV as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, he was great.
Did you have any favorite items that were, because it looked like the chair just kept collecting things as the seasons went on. Did you have any favorite item that was added to the chair?
Well, the only one that was funny, and I sent you a picture, I think I even have it right here, which I loved because I thought it was so much fun, was the doghouse.
Yes.
The doghouse was added to the chair. You can kind of see it there. There's the television set. And so there's Gus, the sucky sock dog, was his name. And that was a lot of fun. We did a few episodes with Gus in it. And again, Beto designed this little doghouse so that I could stick my hand through it, So that was, one of the attachments that, occasionally made an appearance on the show.
Were there any sketches that you wrote that did not end up in the show?
Oh, yeah. Now, I mean, that's just the nature of writing for television. I teach actually sketch comedy writing classes now, and it's one of the things that we talk about a lot. And as a writer, you have to learn how to deal with that. The fact that not all your stuff is going to get on the show.
Yeah.
And that, and there's so many different reasons why. I mean, sometimes it's just time. It doesn't quite work out time-wise. Sometimes standards and practices, quite honestly, they'll say, no, this is a little too edgy for us. So there are sometimes it's just, the showrunner, I don't think it's very funny. So that happens. But we got to deal with that. It's part of the cost of doing business. And as I tell my students when we talk about this, it's okay. It's okay that it's, the analogy that I always use as a baseball player, even the best baseball players don't get up and hit a home run every single time. Yeah. Sometimes they hit singles, sometimes they hit doubles, and sometimes they strike out. It doesn't mean that they're bad baseball players. Same thing with writing. If there are any writers out there, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to not let that discourage you, because it's the part of doing, the work is dealing with that, not trying to erase that, because it's art at the end of the day, and a lot of times it's not gonna hit. Now I can't think of anything specifically that never got on, but certainly there was material that didn't get on.
And obviously there was quite a bit that was written, obviously. Was there any sketch in particular that you were really proud of that made it onto the show?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about that the other day, and it's funny. I think more of the sketches, and I guess this is a writer's thing too, that I go, that one, it's like, I don't think of my favorite ones. I think of the ones that didn't work, or it's like, oh yeah, that one. And there's also, it's interesting because uh, it was a different time, right? And so there's, there are things on the show that I don't think you could do today. That I don't
Yeah.
think, that you could, because we definitely were pushing the envelope then as a sketch comedy show for kids. And so I think of it now. I have kids. I have my oldest is 24. So but I think about uh, if my kids saw some of the stuff now, I'd go, oh no, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there's, there are a couple but even now, but even talking about them, I feel like I almost can't, just because I don't want to bring attention back to them. So the people go, oh yeah, that's bad. That's really, ooh. Because some of it looking back was, but I can't say that I really can remember like the funniest sketch. Part of it too was Roundhouse was such a fluid show. It wasn't like a Saturday Night Live or even a Mad TV where you watch one sketch, it's over, then you watch the next one. The sketches are kind of blending into each other. One line that came up to me, we did parodies. So one that came up to, it's such a ridiculous thing, but we would do silly stuff like this on Roundhouse. It was Rod Stewart. It was a Rod Stewart parody, his new album.
Yeah.
And it was Curtin Rod Stewart. We did a lot of that, it's like it's the latest sketch from Curtin Rod Stewart. And his song was, have I told you, Drapery, that I love you? So it's stuff like that, because his song, Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, was on. So, to anybody who knows the song and might get it, those little things that make you giggle that are so silly. I love that about Roundhouse because, again, it was at a time when we could be really silly and everybody was, having a good time with that. So.
I do want to read this comment that came up.
Okay.
We had a follower say, "You were always my favorite TV dad. My dad passed away 2 days ago, so I'm glad I was able to catch this interview and reminisce. Thank you."
Oh.
I'm very sorry to hear about your dad, but I'm very glad that you're here with us.
Oh yeah, and listen, and me too. My thoughts, my prayers are with you. I'm so sorry. Gosh, that's really hard, and when I was shooting the show, I wasn't a dad.
Yeah.
And it was only after Roundhouse ended that I became one. And it's a role that I played on the show and a role that I play in real life that it's one of the most important. The one I play in real life is, one of the most important roles in my life. And I get it, and my heart goes out to you. And I'm sorry, and listen, I appreciate you sharing with me, how much you enjoyed the show. That means a lot to me. The show, it was obviously on along many years ago, and it's just really touching to me, especially as I'm getting older, that people remember it so fondly, and that remember that character so fondly too.
Going back to writing for the show, if let's say Roundhouse is going now, what 3 topics would you like to tackle in today's topics?
Oh my God. Well, again, it's like, well, certainly social media. That would certainly be a topic that, it's, that is laying out there. Although, obviously, I couldn't write for it because I couldn't even get on this Instagram. I'd have real trouble getting into the mind of how this stuff works. Although that being said, I could probably, perhaps I could do it from the dad's point of view.
Yeah.
But I do know that it is, such a, it occupies so much of a young person's world, and I, To the extent that I talk to my own kids about this, I have the same kind of concerns about it that are voiced by, by a lot of people that, it can turn people inward. It can turn, the worst of it. I think that like anything else, there's potential for great good in the tools that we have. But there's also potential for great damage too. So I think it's just really important that we sort of approach it with a balance, and to help kids understand too that a lot of it, certainly not all of it, but a lot of it focuses on surface. And so I think Roundhouse would try to get into that it does do that, and that is that can be a lie, that can be something that kids buy into that is not real. So I think Roundhouse would try to, in a comedic way, of course, try to help kids understand that, and try to help kids understand that, who they are, and who they are as individuals, and their hearts, their souls. That's what counts the most. So, I think that's certainly one of the things that we would try to to tackle.
And we just had a question from one of the viewers ask, in the various parodies that you all had done on musical artists, did anyone ever give you any flack for it? Any of the artists get upset at the parodies?
No, no, we never had that. Maybe that's a testament to, maybe they weren't watching our show. You never know. But no, we didn't. It's interesting. We did musical parodies on Mad TV as well, and we would occasionally get some grumbling, but not much. I don't know. I would like to think that none of the stuff that we did was mean-spirited. We certainly didn't try to do that. We certainly were trying to make kids laugh, and their parents laugh too. To the extent that we succeeded, to the extent that we failed, which I certainly represent that we did. We didn't always knock it out of the park, like we were saying, and perhaps there's some people who had seen it that way. But I think our hearts, certainly the hearts of the writing staff, were in the right place, and the performers too. That we didn't try to punch down, and so and maybe revisionist history. I don't know. Maybe some of the cast members remember something that I don't, but I don't recall anybody giving us any blowback on that. Yeah.
I think we've only got two more writing questions. For those of you who are sending questions, I do see them. I'm trying to keep everything categorized, so I'm not forgetting you, I promise.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. I can see them scrolling up here. You're never going to be able to keep them categorized.
When sketches were they written with certain performers in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. Now, essentially, the cast as a whole sort of fell into different categories. Mark David was always the principal, with the speaker head on, which again, another great Beto set design. Obviously was always the dad. Sean was always the mom. There was a featured kid. I think we called him featured kid each week. If the parents would stay the same, but the kids would sort of rotate. And each one, everybody in the cast kind of had their own distinct personalities, which is a credit to Rita and Buddy and Benny, who produced the show and cast the show, to get such a diverse group of people, and such a diverse group of personalities. Yeah. We all famously got along. And again, I hear myself saying stuff like that, and I don't know, like, if Sidoni's sitting at home going, yeah, right, But we did. You know, and you know, and if he wants to call me up and fight about that, we'll do it. But it really was a great group of people. And now I'm forgetting where I was going with that. What? Yeah, just the roles. Yeah, there's certain roles. So so when we would write, you know, essentially that's kind of how we would think. You know, depending on what the script called for, then it was like, you know, got to the point where we go, okay, yeah, Ivan would be great for this, or Natalie would be great, or Natalie has to play this part. You know, this is like, it feels like Natalie. So that's generally how, you know, how the shows were put together. I mean, especially once the cast was established and started to gel. And I mean, obviously there was some cast rotations throughout the years, but, you know, as the show progressed, and people got accustomed to, you know, everybody got a better feel for, you know, the different personalities in the show. We tried to bring use those personalities in the show to kind of, you know, to bring them out.
Okay.
So.
And before I get to my last writing question, just because it ties into this, I absolutely love the interactivity of seeing the different cast members from Roundhouse on social media, because it's so much fun to watch as a fan. Because on my interview with David Sidoni, he was telling everybody to give Mark some flack for, you know, not having a refrigerator, and then people in the comments, and Mark had responded, and in the email that I had sent with you, and you had said that you had seen the interview, and it was great fun. And then it's good to see that David Sidoni is. I'm sad to see that David Sidoni has become such a bitter, angry person. And then, of course, in parentheses, I'm totally kidding. But it's fun to see that ribbing still taking place. So it warms my heart. I know it warms the heart of the fans.
Well, you know, real quickly on that, I'll just say, you know, one of the things is that I would perhaps do more of that if I were any good at social media. And this is the thing, because like my which, by the way, so I'm sending love out to all the cast members too. If any of you see this, you know, because I know that we could pick up where we left off. There are a lot of the people I haven't seen in a long time, you know, and they're, you know, part of that is, you know, after the show ended, you know, I started a family. I mean, most of the guys were, you know, 10 years behind me. So, you know, so it's like, okay, I'm in this sort of new chapter, but I do feel like there's no part of me that feels like I couldn't pick up right where I left off. Yeah. You know, I've certainly through my limited exposure to social media, although I'm getting better, I've, you know, sort of seen what people are doing and kind of what's going on in their lives. And that's been great, you know, to stay connected that way. And, you know, talking about social media, that's a great plus, that it can bring people, you know, it brings people together in a way that you couldn't before. But like I said, if anybody wanted to give me my, as you know, my Instagram is basically one for my classes. It's not really even me. But you know, that's the only presence I have on Instagram at the moment. Maybe that'll change. We'll see.
Last writing question, and this is from Mad TV. Did you write the John Cena episode?
Well, we all, John Cena was on the show a couple of times. Mm-hmm. We all wrote sketches. You know, when you say, you know, the way it works when a guest star comes on the show, the whole staff works on material for him. You know, the one that was one of the funniest for me is him and John and Bobby Lee on the show. I don't know if you've ever seen the sketch, and if those of you haven't, you should Google it, because it's a great, and I didn't write it, and I wish I could remember. I think Bobby wrote it. I think maybe Mike Hitchcock, another great, really funny writer. But it's one of the funniest sketches in the show, and it just uses Bobby Lee's, who's also a talented guy, his physical comedy. It's a Three Stooges bit, basically. It's so funny because it's very physical comedy, which perhaps you'd expect from a wrestler, a pro wrestler. Yeah. But I wrote on the show, the way a sketch show works, you know, like Mad TV or Saturday Night Live, is that you're writing sketches for all the shows. So sometimes, your sketch would be on this week. Next week you might not have a sketch on. You're just, it's sort of an assemblage of sketches for each show. It's not like we write one show. It wasn't like Roundhouse where you'd write all the sketches for one episode, and that would be your episode, because obviously in Roundhouse the sketches were thematically tied together. There was a theme each week. So it was a little bit different. And I can't remember if I actually wrote because John was on the show a couple of times. So I don't remember writing one particular one, but I think I may have co-written a couple of them with some people. So great guy too, another great guy, really game for anything.
All right, we're gonna switch categories a bit. What was it like performing at the Kids' Choice Awards?
Well, by that time, performing at the Kids' Choice Awards here's the thing. Roundhouse was essentially a live show, right? Mm-hmm. Because the way we would shoot the show is we'd have to learn the whole show top to bottom. It wasn't like a sitcom where, you're doing a scene here or scene there, cut, you're moving cameras around. So it was a live show. So performing at the Choice Awards was just like Roundhouse, because it was a live show. But anytime we got to do appearances like that, and we didn't do a whole lot of those, but anytime we got to do a performance or a meet and greet with the fans, it was great fun. I mean, the cast really loved doing that. Loved meeting the fans. Listen, I mean, obviously most of our fans were younger. There's no one sweeter, kinder, better than a young fan. I mean, they were just great fans who loved the show. So performing in front of the crowd, it was again, one of the great things about doing the show live too, was, we were able to perform that show in front of a live audience, screaming, hollering, clapping, laughing. It doesn't get much better than that.
Obviously the Kids' Choice Awards, there wasn't really sketch on the Kids' Choice Awards. It was mostly dance. And I have had one of our readers or followers or viewers ask who did the choreography for the show.
Oh, Barry Lather, who was, now listen, well, Barry was the original choreographer. Ivan and choreographed later. He choreographed a few episodes. There may have been one or two others that I'm forgetting, but Barry choreographed all 4 seasons, largely all 4 seasons. A incredible choreographer. And, I know his credits include Michael Jackson and Paula Abdul. And listen, this was one of those things where when I first got into the show, listen, when we were doing the cheap theatrics, I mean, I was doing just as much dancing as anyone else, which tells you, which was the saddest thing ever if you saw me dance live. When the show got picked up, and Rita always had a vision of getting serious, real dancers into the show, and Barry Lather came in, and I saw what these dancers were doing. I was blown away and ashamed that I ever thought I could move at all. It was amazing. It was just amazing. And he was so good. And the thing about it, the thing about Barry, and think about this, there was so much dancing in the show every single week, because not just dancing the songs, but all the dance bumpers in the show where we were dancing in and out of commercials. Barry had to choreograph that. Hey!
We got a prison break.
Hey, yeah, look, I got one too. See? Yeah, how you doing? Who's that?
I just heard my wife go, This is Jensen. Those who've been following me on
Hey,
Instagram have
Jensen.
seen this little guy a few times.
How you
Hi,
doing,
Mama.
Jensen?
She looks so frustrated right now.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
yawning. He's like, "When's this over, Dad?"
it's getting our bedtime. How you
Oh
doing,
God.
Mama? All right. Where are we at here? We're at my house in your place. Where did I leave off?
Well, we were just finishing up like with Barry Lather. So
Yes. Oh, the choreography of the dancing. Yes, that's where
yeah.
we were. Are you? All right. Oh, so somebody had this question earlier, and I actually had this question down too. The interview with Nickelodeon Magazine, where you had to interview yourself. Whose idea was that?
You know, it's so funny because somebody had mentioned that before. I think you posted something like that.
Yes.
I had totally forgotten about that, and honestly, I wish I could tell you. I don't remember whose idea. I want to say it was theirs. I want to say it was theirs because I think there was a series of them that they that they were doing. I thought it was a fun idea. I thought it was it was a really fun idea, but I don't remember whether or not it was mine or theirs. Again, I want to say it was theirs because they basically what would happen is very often they'd approach us to do some publicity stuff.
You're gonna be a scene stealer now. I can't read this thing. It's getting dark in this room. Those are all not Nickelodeon related. Oh, if I'm not mistaken, you were the oldest cast member, or one of the
I think
oldest cast
so.
members.
Yes, I think so. I think Sean was about my age, but I still think, yeah, I still think I won the prize for being the oldest cast member. And thank you so much for bringing that up.
I'm so sorry. Well, the reason I was asking, because I mean, obviously the cast got along fantastic, so no slight to that.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, no.
was there ever a point where you felt separated from the rest of the group, big from the age difference?
Yeah, well, the only from the standpoint of I was just in a different, I was married. And nobody else was. I think maybe there were a couple of marriages during the run, but I'm not even so sure about that. So I just had a little bit of a different.
Seafood.
So the only distance, it's so funny because I felt like at times I felt like I could play along with them, like we did, especially when we were in Orlando and had no. We were all quarantined in Orlando for the first season. So we would all socialize, and we'd all kind of go out together. But we, I never felt like, I definitely felt like, as younger people, there were things that they were involved in, things that they were doing that I wasn't, but I never felt like, oh, I'm on the outside looking in.
Thank you. You want more to drink?
Yeah, so there was no at least I didn't feel there was any real distance between us. Even though there was a little bit of an age difference, interests were a little different. So
awesome. Let's see, where were you here? Because we were getting a wrap up on the Nickelodeon ones. Because I had a couple questions that were not related to Roundhouse. We're starting to get wrapped up here. Props. Did you ever keep any of the props?
Let's see.
Turn this way on.
Yep, I've got a few. I thought you might ask. This one was from, I don't remember what this episode was, and if anybody remembers this episode. No. But they made like multiple of these for, and I think the episode was a kid who was being sort of browbeaten by his or her dad. I don't remember the episode. And that in his or her imagination, when he looked into the stands, everybody had one of these. Like all I'm feeling pressure from my dad. So I've actually got a couple of these. They're still around. I also have, and this is it's called Dadanetics. And so, and this is an example. This is an example of like a kid show that's sort of making a parody of Scientology. And it's like, maybe that's not something that's quite, that today would be quite, that we should be doing. But, somehow this survived. I have, you can't see it. But I have, this is right over here. This is my Roundhouse jacket. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, okay. So I still have that.
Awesome.
And then the last thing I have, which I thought, which I love, this isn't a prop, but this is,
man.
And it's signed by every cast member, band member, that, there's Barry Lather, speaking of Barry Lather. So I love this. I keep this, in my office next to all my.
Lee, that is awesome.
I got a VHS, a Snick VHS too.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Somebody asked, do you have the chair? And I assume that would be a big no.
No, I wish I did. No, the chair was actually, Rita and Buddy did a pilot for another show after Roundhouse, and the chair was repurposed for something else.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I remember thinking how sad that was that I think they took it apart and used it for something else, and then I don't know what happened to it after that, but yeah.
Do you, of all the song parodies, were there any specific ones that were your favorites?
Of the parodies, well, obviously the very first one, Daddy Don't Dance, because it was the one, and it was Papa Don't Preach. It was Madonna's Papa Don't Preach, and it was called Daddy Don't Dance, and it was the first one. It was the one that we did on the road. It was the one we did in the show. It was the one that kind of established the dad as being a goofball. So I guess I'd have to say that was my favorite one, just because it has kind of a special place.
Okay. One of the last Roundhouse questions. I have like two after, but I have a couple in the middle. But
I'm fine.
Roundhouse. When Roundhouse was canceled,
yeah.
when were you aware that Nickelodeon was replacing it with all that? Did you know that was going to be a thing, or was it just well,
yeah,
this is
we did. One of the things about Roundhouse that we kind of knew, or became sort of apparent from the very beginning, was that there were people at Nickelodeon who wanted a sketch show. They loved the idea of a sketch show for kids.
Yes.
But they wanted a sketch show for kids by kids.
Yes.
In other words, they wanted that cast to be younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, it was just something that, and certainly not everybody at Nickelodeon, but there were a number of people who felt like that should be it. We never felt that way, and not that all that was a very successful show, very funny show. Lots of people came out of that. It just wasn't. It was obviously a very different show from Roundhouse. It wasn't. It was more of a traditional. The setup was more of a traditional sketch show. It wasn't. It wasn't theater in the round, so to speak, in the Roundhouse. And so, that happens. It's just they felt like, that it fit more the mold of what the network wanted to be. Yeah. So we were disappointed, and we certainly didn't begrudge anybody on all that, or that happened. But yeah, I think, but we did know kind of towards the the end of season 4 and the middle of season 4 that was sort of in the wind.
Okay.
So
So I had a couple of questions that had nothing to do with anything. They were kind of like break the ice questions, which
Okay.
I probably should have led with, but they were fun, quick ones. What is your favorite movie and TV show?
Oh my gosh. That's so hard. Well, again, favorite TV show. And again, I guess when I think of shows that had an influence on me, right? So probably most of your audience won't even know the show, but there was a show called The Flip Wilson Show. Flip
Yes, I
Wilson was a stand. Okay.
came on Nick at
So,
Night for a while.
okay, yes, that's right. And he had a sketch variety show
Hmm.
on in the early to mid 70s. And
Yep.
it just captured me. It was just like, I want to do that. I love that. That looks fun to me. I became a huge fan. I've got, speaking of props, I got a Flip Wilson doll over here that
Are
my
you
wife gave me
serious?
years ago. Yeah, I went hard. I got to bring it out now. Hold on. So, so this is the Flip Wilson doll. This is who
That's
he
so
was,
cool.
and he did a character called Geraldine. So on the
Yes.
other side is Geraldine, and then, if you pull the cord, help y'all, they got me trapped inside this doll. He says stuff like that. Help y'all, they got me trapped inside this doll. But it was, it was just a big influence on me. Movies, it's so. My taste for movies varies so much. It's. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mom is scary. It's empty, baby. It's empty. It's getting past your bedtime, I know. And our door does not close. She just shoves it open. I know. Mama, can you get some more milk? Come here. Come here. Get some more. I think it's fine.
Oh man, I remember when mine
Hello, folks
were
who do
that
not have
little.
parents.
What's that?
Say
No,
hello,
no,
folks who
listen.
do not have parents and don't understand all this. This will be your life when you have kids for a while. I don't know. I know you get it.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, well,
It's,
treasure it. It goes by fast.
yes, it
Goes by
does.
fast.
Anyway, you were saying movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. Gosh, favorite. It's really hard because I like classics. I like, and I'm pretty predictable. I like the Godfather films. I like. I like big westerns like Dances with Wolves,
Yes.
comedies. Again, those '70s comedies like, I love the Animal House and Trading Places. The Eddie Murphy movies were big. When I was in that kind of sweet spot of those '70s or '80s movies. So my tastes kind of range all over the place. So it's really hard to pick a favorite movie.
Last book that you've read.
The last book I read was The Splendid and the Vile, which is, I love history, and it's a great book on Winston Churchill during World War II.
Okay.
And it's a great book. There's also another great book I finished a while back, but I love it. And people asking, like, people looking for recommendations for book. It's called All the Light You Cannot See, which is a great book. And it's also, it happens to take place, it's a fictional book, but it takes place in World War II
Okay.
as well.
Favorite candy.
Without a doubt, Reese's.
Yes, that is the correct answer.
Yeah, no discussion that needs to be had about that one. It's just the perfect combination of tastes.
Every single one of these I've done, somebody has given me a question that I just laughed at. So they made sure to put gaps in between, but I'm not going to have to do that. How do you pronounce this word? Caramel or caramel?
Caramel. Yeah, caramel.
And I've only got 3 other questions, since
Okay.
this one's starting to get tired
Mm-hmm.
on me. What is one of the most rewarding things that you've had in doing Roundhouse?
Oh, wow. Now you see, I mean, you know, uh,
Easy, baby.
just the opportunity to do something that I love. I'm so grateful for that. And I wish it for everyone, that that whatever you're doing, that you do. And look, I didn't get to do it, and I still don't get to do it all the time. But I still do, and I'm just so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for the people that have given me the opportunities to do that. Uh, you know, I try not to take any of this for granted.
Yeah.
And it was, when I'm able to either, write or, I produce now, when I'm able to do those things, especially kind of in their purest form, I just go, it's such a blessing. It's just so,
Thank you, babe.
it's so great. And so, that to be able to have had that opportunity and to gain that perspective
Yeah.
from that, has really been great. Because the truth is, for myself, I can speak for myself. I didn't always. I look back on it sometimes and I go, I didn't always appreciate it as much as I should have. Because it was like, when we started out, it kind of, kept kind of, the show was up and running. I was writing, I was acting, I was, writing songs and things like that. And so it was all it was great. And so but I didn't realize, I don't think I realized at the time how special it was,
Yeah.
just because and I think that's human.
Yeah, it
A
is.
lot of times you look back on, you go, yeah, well, some nice things about that. So,
Are there any plans for a 30th anniversary?
not that I'm aware of, but but I will say there has been, sort of energy around Roundhouse recently, not just with the stuff that you're doing, but I discovered, there's there's some songs on YouTube by this group, by fans for fans, and they've re-recorded some of Roundhouse's songs,
Really?
and they're beautifully done. And and a couple of them I love, because they were songs that I wrote, and so they've re-recorded them, and they're on YouTube. And I mean, I think it was a few years ago that they did them, but I was really moved by the fact that people remember the music, and it was always such a shame that the music was never released, because there's great music that was written and composed and performed on that show. Really great stuff. And that's the other thing too I think about a lot too, is that, show before its time, because if the show were airing now with social media, with the benefit of social media, I think it would have been, a tremendous success.
Yep.
There's just no stopping the energy of that show.
And final question, what are some projects you have going now?
So now, I have a couple of things. I have a small production company, and we produce web series, commercials, branded content for clients. And my partner and I, we produce, shoot, edit, write. We do the whole thing. So I do that. What I love about sketch comedy is, I love writing it. I love the craft of writing it. So I teach classes online and at the Groundlings too, I was in the Groundlings company, which is a sketch comedy group out here in Los Angeles. I was in that company for 10 years, and so I still teach classes over there. And then I write. I have some other projects that I continue to write. I wrote a screenplay for Disney a couple of years ago that they picked up. They didn't shoot it, but I wrote it for them. So still doing a little bit of here and there, and actually still doing some acting too. I was in a group with Fred Willard, who passed away not too long ago. But we would write sketch material and perform it here in Los Angeles at various theaters. So I love that too. I love to sort of still kind of dabble in performing, although I don't do it as much as I used to.
Awesome. Well, I do have some others that I know that some subscribers had sent in, but this has gone on for a while. I'm starting to get this one. So if you have, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I can see, obviously I'm doing the interview, but I saw the scroll, so I caught a question there.
Okay.
Somebody quickly, I'm just going to say, because somebody quickly asked what the accent was.
Oh,
and
I missed that one.
I'm from New Orleans, and the accent in New Orleans, if I ever get mistaken for being from someplace, people assume I'm from New York. And New Orleans actually has kind of a Brooklyn-ish accent. So I sort of brought that a little bit, that accent to the dad. So it's sort of an East Coast, New Orleans kind of mesh. And then the person asked if I would say, pull my finger like I used to do on the show. And I'll be glad to do that for you. So get ready, because here it comes. Pull my finger. Come on, pull my finger. Let's go. So that was sort of the dad and the accent on the show.
I loved it. Yeah, I completely missed that one. Thank you for picking up on this one. Okay. If any of you guys have any other questions you'd like, please send them my way, and sooner or later, hopefully, we can do another one. And hopefully, next time we won't have this little guy coming in. This was our first location in the new house, and we're still getting everything ironed out. But
yeah, okay.
But John, thank you so very much for taking the time for this and for planning this out. It really means the world to me, and I know it means the world to the fans. So thank you very much.
Well, listen, let me just say too, thank you so much for being such a great fan and for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it. To all of you, who are watching, I'm really touched. It just, you get busy with your life, and you're doing things, and you're raising kids, and it's such a gift to me to know, how much you enjoyed the show, how much the show meant to you. So thank you all, for expressing that and for joining us today. And it really means a lot to me. So I appreciate it.
All right. Again, thank you to all of you who sent some questions, and thank you for all of you who tuned in. And we'll catch you guys some other time.
All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you, John.
Take care. Bye.